All right, welcome back to another edition of the Franklin Community High School Career Exploration Project. Today, I am joined by J.B. Curry. He is the Vice President of Market Rate Development at TWG. J.B., first of all, thank you for joining me. Why don't you just give me a rundown of what you do and kind of what TWG does as well?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. TWG Development, we are a multifamily development company based in Indianapolis, Indiana. What that really means, or what we do, is we build apartments. So we are a full service company, meaning that we do development of the real estate. We also design it, we build it, and then we manage it in the end. So we're looking for opportunities typically across the Midwest or throughout the United States of land that we can develop into apartments and build, then ultimately lease that out to individuals who are renting apartments, whether they're living in suburbs or urban cores throughout major cities.
Gotcha. So as far as how you got this job, like education wise and training, what led you to this?
Yes, ultimately what led me to this was my background in college and also in graduate school. So when I was in college, I went to IU in Bloomington, Indiana here. I studied finance through the Kelley School of Business program. And afterwards, I decided to go to law school here in town. So that business background coupled with having been a former practicing attorney, the attention to detail, negotiation power, the ability to kind of understand complicated documents, and also finance on the business side of things. Those both meshed well into being able to find opportunities to build on land and also raise money, put partnership agreements together, and ultimately get the project built.
So with your job, I mean, you get a lot of the finance, and that's, to me, it's way over my head, but you're way smarter than I am. So what do you see with some of the pros? Like, what are some of the pros, the things you like most in your job? And what are some of the things you like dealing with? Like, you're like, yeah, I can go without that.
Yeah. So, compared to my experiences in high school, college, law school, and even now in the working world, I very much like to work in teams. When I was an attorney, I was pretty much by myself in my office, billing hours is the phrase. Now we work in teams. So a lot of my experience, either playing sports in high school, working on team case studies or competitions in certain courses, even into college, were super, super helpful. And that's what I get to do today. Public speaking, I can also even point to classes I took when I was a junior or senior in high school that I'm still learning or still using some of those things I learned back then today when speaking, either before neighborhood groups, before folks at my own company, working with different cities and municipalities. Public speaking is a big component of that. It's enjoyable. Another thing that I do like about my job is that there's a clear start and a clear finish. Right. When you see a crane getting delivered on site, you're starting construction. Ultimately, a building gets built. You can go touch it. You can see it. You can walk through it. That's great. So that's what we kind of refer to as transaction. So there's a start, there's a stop. You kind of get to take a deep breath and enjoy it. Another good thing about my job that I like as well is that it's not specifically just 9 to 5. I don't come to work at a specific time every day and have to leave specifically every day. Sometimes my days are short, like today's a Friday. I'm probably not going to stay here till 5 o'clock. That's definitely a nice benefit. Not everyone gets to have. But I also might work on, Saturday or Sunday, or I might come in early. I might get in around 6 or 7 o'clock some mornings, as opposed to other mornings where I get in at 8 or 9. Just kind of depends. So that flexibility is kind of nice. On the flip side, some cons of my job. Sometimes I do work far more than just 9 to 5. Some weeks we're working on raising money. We're trying to close some deals, or we need to work through some design issues on a project. I might work a 10 or 11-hour day. So it definitely, that can get a little tiresome there, working longer hours, but that can also kind of be offset by shorter days. And then a second thing that's a little tricky is just, we're risking time and we're risking money when we're going to pursue opportunities. They might not always pan out. So we do have a risk factor there that can be stressful.
It sounds like kind of when you're on the job and when you're working, you're just kind of always in fifth and sixth gear. Like you really don't see anything other than those top gears.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely enjoy high energy. We have a very high energy, a highly motivated team that works for us. So, sticking in fifth or sixth gear, all throughout the day is definitely a very positive, good thing we do. We try not to slow down. Other professions, you kind of have high points at times. For instance, accounting. Might be really, really busy in the springtime for taxes, putting those together, but then they might shift down to second or third gear throughout the rest of the year. And we try to stay highly motivated and highly energized throughout the entire year.
Absolutely. Just always got to kind of stay on, always on there. So with your personality, your characteristics that you have and that you see around the building, what do you think would make someone successful kind of in your line, and what would maybe someone would struggle with?
Yeah, things that would help make you successful. Number one, being able to communicate to a number of people with different backgrounds. So often I'm discussing topics with architects or engineers, bankers, investors, city planners, individual land sellers, or folks really that almost seem to have nothing to do with real estate. So being able to communicate effectively with a number of different people is super helpful. Being able to any leadership positions you had or had the opportunities to be a part of would be really helpful for that. And also, I would say having a diverse background. When I was in high school, I mowed I don't know how many lawns. I did a ton of landscaping. I painted houses. I did catering for one summer. I was a server. So there's a lot of little things that when you get to your profession later on in life, you really draw on those smaller experiences that you didn't think were as important, but they really are impactful. There are days where I have to go and make a bunch of copies all day long. And you just have to do little things that might not be that exciting, but it all adds up to the bigger picture. So those are definitely things that have kind of helped along the way. And did I miss a question in there? I think I got it, but
yeah, no. That's so. I do have one last question for you. I'll get you out of here on this one. I don't know if I warned you about this. I've tried to warn people on this, but do you have just any general advice for high school students?
Yeah, I would definitely say in high school and even afterwards, there were definitely times where I would pursue, clubs or organizations or courses or pursue things that I thought would be good for my resume, like a resume stuffer. But I didn't necessarily love doing it. The things that I really liked, really loved doing, I excelled, did far better, got better grades, had a much more enjoyable time. I think if I would go back in time and I was a sophomore or junior in high school, I would not ignore the things that I truly like doing. And sometimes it takes you down a route that maybe you're not going to be involved in, astrology, for instance, in your job, but having a different background, a different perspective, even if you end up being something that's totally different, it really makes you better at that job because you just know something other people don't, or you have a different perspective. I definitely would encourage everybody to get yourself involved in things that you really do care about, because you're going to get up a little easier in the morning. You're going to be more motivated to get there a little earlier, to work a little harder, put in a little bit better effort. That would definitely be a huge thing that I would advocate for.
Yeah, absolutely. Just finding like what you're passionate about. And, especially if you find that in high school, you never know how that's going to influence the rest of your life. And you can, use that as a career, even just springboard to a whole career. So
yeah, I definitely I would say I probably learned the opposite way. I found out what I didn't like before I found out what I did like, and don't be discouraged by that either. It can take years until you really find out your true calling. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, J.B. Curry. He's a vice president of market rate development at TWG. Thank you so much for joining me.
You got it. Thanks, Brian.